Howdy, folks. I'm Jeff,
And I'm John Firm.
and we are the J&J
J&J
Show.
Show.
And tonight's special guest is Rick White, our sponsor for 180 Biz.
Do or do not.
Yeah.
There is no try.
There is no try. So when we talk about the J&J Show shares tools, technology, and training, that's when you hold that thing up for training. Do or do not. There is no try. These folks, these shop owners, these technicians need to do training. And a lot of the comments I see out in the forums and stuff is, hey, where do you find out about the training? Hey, how do we afford the training? Hey, what about I send my tech because John closes his shop and takes his techs to training. And then all of a sudden they leave me, they get trained and then they leave me, they go somewhere else. Those are all questions that folks want to know about.
I can answer that question, that last one. That's easy.
Well, we got Rick on here.
He's the one that taught me the answer.
He is the trainer deluxe. And there was a big thread on Facebook today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's that?
You coach and how much did you charge and are you under contract? Did you see that? Did anybody else see that? That was
I'm not
180
where
biz,
was it?
180 biz, 180 biz, Rick White.
It was asking, hey, I'm thinking about a trainer. How do I find a trainer? And then how do I know about their coach? And then how do I know about their pricing, if it's fair, if that's in line? And then how do I know about, they have these contracts. How do I know if I'm getting in a good contract or not? And that's one of the things that right here, it was like there was a bunch of folks saying, Rick White, 180 Biz, go on.
Where was this on Facebook?
Yes, it was on Facebook.
It was on, it's either Auto Shop something or it's changing the industry. One of the
What
other.
is it? Oh, the ASOG?
Yeah.
It was an ASOG.
It was?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't get to see. They don't let coaches in ASOG, so I don't know. I don't get to see ASOG.
But we want to hear about this training because you have advice, and we tease you and we do a deal called "Where's Rick?"
Yeah,
because you're out, and when you're out at these events, you're not coaching them, you're training, you're teaching them what to look for, and you're training different ideas, but it's like, okay, how do they get to event? Because the next one we'll see you at in person is Vision.
Yeah,
And
we were just this past weekend. I was out at Grand Rapids, Michigan. The AutoWares Expo, great show. Anybody up in the Midwest, the Northern Midwest, highly recommend that show. We actually did some training for the West Michigan Shop Owners Group on Facebook. Friday night, we did a selling, testing profitably class for them.
Sweet.
And then Saturday morning, we did a becoming the leader your team will follow to about 180, between 175 and 180 people. And then Saturday afternoon, we did make more money with your financials. And that was another 180 or so people in that class.
was that the deal with Eric Merchant?
Yes. Friday night. Yes. Was with Eric. We were at Eric's shop.
Because that was like looking pretty
You
cool.
packed 180 people in Eric's shop?
No. So
Okay. All right.
the 180 people were in this beautiful room in the Amway Grand Hotel.
Oh, sweet.
I was in a room where Ronald Reagan once spoke and President Ford, and I was like, this is cool. This is all right. So somebody asked me if I saw them, and I said, I don't see dead people. No, I didn't see them.
Rough. But that prestige is there.
The prestige, I could smell them. You know what I'm saying? It's like going to Monticello. I go to Monticello probably once or twice a year because it's about an hour away from me. To walk in Thomas Jefferson's house, come on, man. I mean, I'd do that all day, right? So hoping something rubs off. So we did that this past weekend. I'm actually off this weekend. I'm home this weekend. Next weekend, let me tell you where I'm going to be. And if you're coming or going to be in the area, let me know because I would love to have you get there. So we're doing a webinar for the Northwest Auto Care Alliance next Wednesday. 3 p.m. Eastern. The 24th will be in Maryland for the WMDA Association for their car training day. We'll be at Vision on the 29th. We're going to be at World Pack, doing a World Pack full day course, March 16th in Stamford, Connecticut. We have ATE West, March 22nd through the 24th. We'll be teaching there. Then from there, I'm flying to Minnesota. We're teaching the 27th and 28th in Minnesota. Then we have a webinar for ASA National on the 10th of April. We have our two-step Texas Roadshow,
Two-step.
412 to 421.
That's locked in, baby.
424 to 428. I'll be at STX in Nashville. Then there's an event in Boise, May 17th, May 18th, for the Northwest Auto Care Alliance we'll be at. And then May 30th to June 1st, we will be at Tools in Pennsylvania.
That's just amazing. And that's a lot of different traveling and a lot of different training all over the nation. And so you're trying to get to different areas. And so, number one, how can the folks know about where some of these training events are?
So if they go to the 180biz calendar, 180biz website, we have a calendar, 180biz.com, and we have a calendar right there, where to find Rick. And you can click on the events. There's a link right in the calendar. You can click on the link and register right from there.
Sweet. That's easy.
So when they go and they click that link, all of a sudden they kind of get surprised by the prices at some of these. And so we got a big event coming up in Kansas City called Vision.
Mhm.
So is that an event that they can just click on and next weekend they can go to it? Or is this one that they need to plan? And how do they figure out, hey, these are the events I need to go to, or where to start?
So if you've never been to an event, I'm going to tell you, just get to one,
Just
right? Apex is probably the top as far as draw as community. There's a lot of people at Apex. The second biggest show I'm going to tell you is probably Vision. It's the second biggest I've seen. But then there's these regional events that are really very, very cool. You got the Northwest Auto Care Alliance. They got their ATE at the end of March. So spring and fall are really great times for training. You got ASTE with Expo, which is now the ASTA Expo, the end of September in North Carolina. We got Gary Keys, his event in October. I'll be there for that. We're going to be at ASTA Expo. You know, the cool thing is, like, I left the Auto Expo, and yesterday they called me and said, we've gotten such great feedback. We want you back next year. So they've already booked me for next year.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's nice, and like ASTA, I've been going there for 15 years. Just every year you bring a new class, you bring some classes, and you just rock it out and have some fun, and it makes a difference. But what I'm going to tell you is, too many of us are sitting around feeling like we're on an island and feeling alone, and it's not true. And the first time you go to one of these things, it's going to be a stretch. But I'm going to ask you, even if it's just you going, don't take your whole team the first time. Just you go.
Figure it out.
Okay, as the owner, and just get your mind blown, because once you do that, you'll never ever miss one again. And then you'll figure out, and it's easy how to figure out, the training part of it. So the first thing is getting yourself out there. It's taking that first step and actually moving, and instead of talking about it or complaining about the lack of training. And let's face it, for those guys that are out there listening to this or the recording, and you're thinking, well, I'm just not going to get into the computerized stuff. I got to tell you something, man. You need a damn computer to bleed brakes today.
Yes.
The simple stuff you thought that was there before, it ain't there anymore. And I'm going to tell you that you're actually a liability waiting to happen if you're not up to date. You can't treat these cars today like they were 5 years, even just 5 years ago or 10 years ago. These things are radically different. They're no longer cars. They're rolling data centers. And if you're not careful, you're going to cause a lot of damage. So get the training. You can still fix a car. And I'll tell you what, if you charge appropriately, you can make really good money doing it too. But the bottom line is you've got to get that training in first. And I'll give you a little secret. Years ago, we would go to training with my shop, and I'm a firm believer that if you don't apply what you learned right away, it goes away. So if we didn't have one of those cars coming in, I used to go out and rent one. I would go out and rent the car, and we would drive. I'd rent it for 3 or 4 days, and we took that sucker apart 5 or 6 times, playing with it, and then put it back
Learn.
together. Um,
Yeah, Rick, that's actually not the first time I've heard that.
Something it's one of those things where training is so important, and the bigger piece of it, and you don't understand it until you do it. And I wish we had people like Jeff Ford and stuff on here tonight.
Yes.
Where you bring your team the first time, your team is going to come back so pumped up for so many different reasons. Number one, they realize they're a part of something so much bigger than just that little shop of yours. Number two, they've met some really amazing people, and they've seen some people that, like, they're here and they see people up here, and they're like, man, I want to be up there. And it just really gets them excited. The other thing is you invested in them. One of the reasons, Jeff, you asked a question, I'm going to bring them to training and then they leave. The reality is, if there's somebody on the edge and you're not sure, come on, man, just pull the trigger, right? They shouldn't be there. Don't bring them to training. Get rid of them. Find somebody what you want to bring to training. And Richard Branson said it best. He said, what you're going to do is train them like they're never going to leave, and then treat them like they're going to leave every day.
Amen.
Right? So you treat them so good that they don't ever want to leave. And honestly, investing in them is part of that. And it's not that bad. If you opened up a separate savings account and every week took somewhere between 3 and 5% of sales and just put it over into the side. And if that's too much, start at 1%. And then when you're used to that, go to 2%. When you're used to that, bring it up to 3%. But if you got like 3 to 5% of sales going into a training account every week, you're going to be amazed at how much money you have at the end of the year. You'll be able to pay for airfare. The other thing I've talked clients through is sit down with your staff, get them excited about where they want to go, and then set a goal for the company. Say, okay, over the next 6 months, we've got to be able to do this. And if we do this, everybody's going. And now you got everybody involved. They're excited. You've got them talking about the classes they want to do. You've got them all working through this. And then you give them, like we used to have a thermometer. We would fill the thermometer up every week. We're showing them how we're doing. And if it wasn't filling up fast enough, we talk about it. And it's amazing what it can do. My team, I don't know if y'all remember, but when IATN first started up,
Yep.
they did the first conference in Plano, Texas.
They did.
That was a Plano conference?
Jerry Huizinga's place. What's that?
It was a Plano conference?
It was a Plano conference, yeah. And my guys wanted to go to that in the worst way. And at the time, we were doing about 60,000 a month in sales. And I said, tell you what, I said, you get us to 80,000 a month or better for the next 3 months. And then what we'll do is I'll pay for everything. We'll bring everybody. I paid for the airfare, all of it, brought them to the training. And here's the cool thing. You think when we got back, I said, okay, guys, we can go back to 60K a month. We stayed up at the 80. It was awesome. So get your team involved and just do it. Don't bellyache about it. It's just going to be a sales call. Yeah, some of them are, and it sucks. But there's some really good training. I'll tell you, when I did that thing with Eric, the West Michigan Shop Owners Group on Friday night, they were guessing 10 to 20 people. We had almost 45.
Sweet.
People are looking for training. And I was talking about training. The training I was doing was called Selling Testing Profitably. We had shops bringing everybody, the techs, the advisors, and it led to such an amazing conversation as they each understood how the other worked, and you know, the other position worked and everything, and how it all fit together. So you got to go to training. Training is a non-negotiable here. And the problem that you're having with it is you're looking at it as an expense. And it's not, it's an investment. And
Training
that's the way to
does-
look at it.
Training
Yes.
doesn't cost; it pays.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the things I'm hearing, and I can really relate to this because I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when you talk about Apex is the number one largest, and then Vision, and we know John's been going to Vision for years and years, and he closes his shop and takes his team. Well, he joined me out at Apex for the first time, and when you talk about just go to an event and your mind gets blown, that was John. It was like he never thought about Apex SEMA, and all of a sudden he gets out there. And the first thing is you got all the networking because, like you say, all the top trainers, all the top people are there, all the top shops are there, and all of a sudden they come up and they, hey, oh my gosh, hey, you're friends with me on Facebook,
I
and,
can't turn a corner at Apex. Somebody's not grabbing me. It's just like you, Rick. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
walk
You know,
down
but that's
mountains.
all those waitresses there with the, you know, at the slot machines
Well, I
do.
wasn't talking about them this time.
Okay. All right.
and so all of a sudden he goes, I got to bring my team. And this past year he took two of his.
I had 3 scheduled to go, wound up having 2.
And that he got there and he says, okay, y'all cannot go through all of SEMA, all of Apex in 2 days.
So no way.
kind of pick, look at the deals here and pick and choose what you want to go see. And they took that as a challenge.
And they tried. They really did. They really tried. They stayed sober the whole time.
And they and they come back and they'd meet us at lunch or at dinner and they'd be going, oh my gosh, I met so-and-so. Oh my gosh, I saw this. Oh my gosh, I saw that. And the other thing of what you're sharing is these folks are there, the top trainers, the top shop owners and stuff. And when we talk about like your future son-in-law is out there and he sits down and he's just down to earth and we'll talk to anybody. So they come up, Brandon, oh my gosh, the data doesn't lie. Tell us something. And they just sit there and have a normal conversation. All of a sudden, mind blown again because it's like, oh my gosh, this is the guy that's in the magazines. This is the guy that teaches all these classes.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here having a hamburger with them, and just talking. And that's the deal.
I think we ate a hamburger. I think just some time about Italian food.
So it's funny
they
because
just have to go.
yeah, and it's funny because my daughter usually comes with me to the events and helps with the booth and everything, and she couldn't come. So my grandson, you all met Brandon. So my grandson came.
A road buddy, a roadie.
And ASTE was his first show. So ASTE was about 5.5 hours from our house. So I got a rental and we drove down. And we were driving down and he's 14. So he has the patience and attention span of a gnat. I love the boy to death. He's a good kid. Man, he's a good kid.
Great
He is.
kid.
He is. We were.
We were driving down. I said, now, Brandon, I've been going to this show for a long time. I've been going to ASTA, I think, since 2010. I mean, I've been going there for a while. And I said, you and I are going to say, okay, we're going to leave this room and we're going to walk to our room. I said, I need you to understand I'm going to get stopped probably 10 times. And each one of those stops is 10 minutes. And I just need you to be patient. Because these people need help. They need someone to talk to, and I want to be there to help them. And he was quiet for a second. He kind of crooked his head over and he looked at me and he goes, Papa, are you trying to tell me you're the cool kid? And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. I was like, dude, no, that's not what I'm saying. I said, I just want you to understand that people are asking questions. And that's the cool thing about these shows is you can see someone walking down that you've seen, like maybe you've seen us, seen me on a Just One Thing for a long time, but you haven't talked to me. If we're at a show, stop, say hi. if I'm in a booth, come in and say hi at the booth, talk to me. That's what we're there for. And we want to connect. We want to hear your stories. We want to get to know you. So don't hesitate to say hi. It's not like we're up here, man. We're right here with you. So just come on over and say hi. And talk. We'd love to. But the big thing is I had to get him to understand that. And then it was funny because then we all went out to dinner. Remember that first night you guys pulled in right after we did. And we all went out to that Mexican restaurant afterwards.
Yep.
And at one point you guys were off to the side. John, I made the mistake of letting him sit next to you. It's across the way from me. And he leans in and he goes, "Hey, Papa." I said, "What's up, buddy? How long have we been here?" I said, "I don't know, about 2 hours." He looked at me and goes, "Best 2 hours of my life." I was like, "Boy, you got to set your standards higher." And then when we went out Saturday night there after everything was done, you remember that? We brought everybody out.
Quite well.
Right? Michael was there. We went to that Italian restaurant when
I
that
still got pictures from that night.
Yeah, so don't I. Thanks. Thanks for that, Michael. And then the waitress is dragging her pocketbook out at the, to the car.
Trying to get out of there, wasn't she?
She took off early.
She was afraid I was going to ask for change.
Yeah.
So, but it was really kind of fun. And you just have no idea the fun you're going to have. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You know how they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? What happens at the show stays at the show.
Amen.
Not if Michael's in the room.
Leave it
Oh, that's true. Michael is going to exacerbate that problem 100-fold.
He takes a picture, and then you never know what that's going to
Yeah.
So I want
king-
to
the
testify
king of
just a little
memes.
bit.
testify, brother. Amen.
You know, I've been coaching with Rick for several years now. And y'all know me, how much training I go to. But the Rick Live event, and this is because you got two other guys on here can vouch for what I'm fixing to say, has always in my heart been the best event I've ever attended. You know, if you're coaching with Rick and you got that opportunity to go to Rick Live, do not miss that opportunity. That's all I can say. And it's networking at its very best. It's learning at its best, and it's just ultimately cool. And you gotta check it out. That's my testimony.
Amen, brother. Preach on. But you can start with, you got to get in his group and then you start it. But actually, Rick, besides being able to go to some of these events, you can hop on the Shop Owner Roundtable, and you can hop on every Monday morning, just one thing, and hear some of the tidbits,
Oh yeah,
some of the nuggets.
just a little
Just
bit
one
of-
thing.
Yeah,
Just
Now,
one thing.
Monday morning, 10 minutes.
with no contract, with no price.
And he don't care how he sounds, whether he's sleepy or awake, or he's been shouting and preaching all weekend long.
Yeah, John texts me, "You okay, brother?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why? Man, you didn't sound right." And I'm like, "Oh, I was yelling at 300 people, 200 people at a time. So for a weekend, it might have been a little hoarse."
It was rough, brother. I was worried about you.
No, man, it was awesome. I got to start practicing for the SDX. I'm at 3 days. I'm teaching 6 classes in 3 days at SDX.
And their estimated class size is?
I don't know. I hope hundreds.
Yeah.
But it's not a 10-minute or 1 hour. Most of your classes at these events are 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, they're half day, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah. And you've been known to do an all day.
Yep, I got some all day courses too.
So the big thing is for training is, number one, just get there as the shop owner, see what's happening, get your mind blown, meet folks, network, shake hands. And then the second thing is start budgeting. And like you said, if you start somewhere, because it's like, number one, you have to get up off the couch and then take a step. So if you start at 1% and then go to 2%, the goal is to do 3 to 5%. So they have a budget, because it's the same thing. If they're doing marketing, what is your recommendation on a budget on marketing?
It's going to start a conversation, but it's As a rule, it's 8 to 10% of anticipated sales less rent.
So this is way less
The marketing, right?
than marketing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's to stay in business because, like you said, there's so much going on with these cars. If they don't go to training, they're going to stay in business. So it doesn't matter how much they're marketing. If they can't fix the cars when they come to the shop,
As a shop owner,
as
and I'm saving 5%, like Rick taught me. I'm taking my team out to dinner, and I'm not going to that Taco Bell place. We're going to a place. We went to the
you go to
fort.
that French place,
We went to the-
Jacques in the Box?
No, we don't even do that French restaurant either. We went to the fort when they went to Denver last month. Okay.
And you weren't even there.
And that ticket was $1,500 and it came out of the budget and it was fine. Just 5% is you're going first class, buddy. I'm telling you right now.
So, because you're talking about being able to fly them out there, being able to pay their salaries, being able to pay for the hotel, and then you have to feed them because that's all part of, okay, they're not at home. So you got to feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All of
And,
it's affordable.
and you got to pay them.
And you got to pay them.
You got to pay them 8 hours or 6 hours, whatever they're doing for training a day.
Mhm.
They get paid.
And that's out of that budget. So it's not like, oh my gosh, where's this coming from? You already budgeted it in.
Mhm.
Now, the one other thing that you were talking about was explain a little bit about where you say a contract for training or.
Yeah, so we had an agreement with our employees so that what we would do is give it a 12-month agreement because I mean, let's face it, if you're going to Vision, there is a heavy investment involved. You would include the pay, the training, the hotel, all of it. And we would just basically every month it would be a 12 less. So if they left in 6 months, we would ask them to reimburse us for 6 months worth of that, a half of that training because we didn't get, as a business owner, I didn't get a chance to recoup the benefit of that. So we set that up with our employees, our team, and my team never had a problem with it because they weren't going anywhere.
Amen.
And here's the thing for you business owners, if you see somebody, you have one of these agreements and you see one of your techs all of a sudden not going to training, that might be a red flag right there. You might want to sit down and talk to somebody about.
You know something?
And here's the other thing I wanted to say about training. So somebody says, what if I get a bad class? And I'm going to tell you, I don't think there's any such thing as a bad class. I think what defines a bad class for somebody is when it's not what you agree with. But a good instructor is going to challenge your current thinking and expand it. That's what we're there to do. We're not there to confirm what you already know. We're there to push the boundaries of what you already know. Now, are some of the things you hear in training going to be something you hear in ASOG or, some of these other places? Absolutely. Please do me a favor. If you only do one thing, do this. If you're going to training, don't sit there and someone starts talking. Don't dismiss it by saying, I already know that. Okay? Because I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Number one, you might want to listen to their take on it because it could be different. Okay? Like we have a scheduling method called the parking lot method. It's pretty cool. Okay? I start talking scheduling and all of a sudden you're going to be going, oh, I already know about scheduling. And then I roll this out and you're like, holy crap, this is amazing. But then the second thing I'm going to ask you to ask yourself is, I don't care how well you know it. How much of it are you doing?
Amen.
Okay? Because you need to understand there's a misnomer where it says knowledge is power, and that is not true. It's applied knowledge that's power.
That's right.
What are you applying? Okay? And maybe that's the conversation you need to have. Hey, I've heard about exit scheduling before. I'm not doing it. I need to talk to somebody. Let's sit down and talk about that because everybody should be exit scheduling, everybody. So there you go.
Well, and there's a couple of things there. Is number one, even us older guys that we've been around, and John's been to all this different training, and I do all this online training and all different uh, types like that. I always look at going into training is not like, oh, why did I need to take that? I already know that. It's like, okay, let me learn at least one thing tonight. And John will say, it's like, okay, I'm going to take away one nugget, or 10 minutes, I'm going to hear something that I haven't heard before. Because as a trainer, as an instructor, you know that the rule is you got to say everything three times, because only one third hears it, only one third's paying attention, and it's like you repeat it three
Oh,
times.
not in my class.
Not in your class.
Oh no, everybody's paying attention in my class.
Everybody hears
Because they're trying to take those nuggets. They're trying to get those
He's
nuggets.
delivering the power.
Because there's some energy in my class, and if I see someone
Amen.
nodding off, I'll kick the table. So
Now, do you
uh,
have any of those that you're saying something, and then all of a sudden they're the expert? They want to speak up and go, "Oh yeah, it's blah, 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 blah."
Yeah, I do that.
yeah, well, in my shop, and you let them go because guess what? I could learn a nugget. Right? I could learn a nugget. I don't think arrogant enough to believe that I am the only one that knows stuff, right?
Amen.
So, like I remember Dom first joined our group, and he talks about this one thing he does with cars to pre-screen them. And I'm like, holy crap, this is brilliant. And, it's like, dude, I'm stealing this sucker,
Yeah.
and it was awesome. So everybody teaches me. And that's the thing. And the other thing is, sometimes you're going to go into a class that's just diametrically opposed to the values you have. And then you say, well, that was a bad class. No, it actually helped you confirm how you felt about something. It gave you an opposing view. You thought it through. It doesn't align with what you want or how you want to run your business. That's amazing. Now you can feel more confident in the way you're doing it. There's no such thing as a bad class.
No, I agree.
There really isn't. There's so much you can learn.
And I've been to a bunch of classes. I've never considered one of the classes I've been to bad.
You remember that one that we had that speaker come in up here?
Mm-hmm. I remember that one, and it wasn't bad. It was just different.
So, any other tidbits to close us out? Because we know tonight's Valentine's Day and everything, but first they have to take the step and go there. They have to listen and get their mind blown. Then they have to look and see, okay, which would be the best employees to bring, or do we close the whole shop? Because it's like some of the classes are geared towards service advisors. Some of them are geared towards shop owners, and some of them are geared toward technicians.
Mhm.
So it's like, would you take a shop owner into a technicians one? And the best thing that I heard you say was when you had the technicians and the shop owners and the service writers listening to um, charging for diagnostics.
Mhm.
I think, oh my gosh, that one is a class, because when they say I'm not getting paid to diagnose a car, or you're cutting them a break and taking, and then I didn't get paid to learn. So why do I want to go to training? So it's like right there, you're bringing them all together, showing this is why we need to charge, so that we can bring you to these events, so you can learn more. And the technicians need to understand that we're educating the service writers to talk to the consumer.
Yep. So as a couple of, I want to give you a couple of thoughts just to maximize your opportunity with the training.
Love it.
Number one, going by yourself, or you're going into training on your own. At the end of the day, first of all, take notes throughout the class. Whenever you write something down, somehow it just imprints more on the brain. But here's the truth. If you come to one of my classes and just listen, you're going to get motivated. You're going to have some fun. You're going to learn some stuff. But in if you don't do certain things in a month, you're going to remember less than 5% about what I talked about. Okay. So what I want you to do is this. I want you to take some great notes while you're there. I want you to get engaged. I want you to ask questions. I want you to be a part of it, not a spectator. Okay. At the end of the day, I want you to review your notes, and I want you to put together a list of things you want to change. I want you to pick the most valuable, the biggest bang for the, biggest bang for the buck. And I want you to put a plan together for that, so that when Monday morning comes, you're ready to rock and roll and implement what you've learned. Okay. Because if you wait until Monday to start, it's too late. One of the wonderful things about coming to these events, and I've seen it time and time again, Dom and Brad, if you disagree, let me know, is as an owner, it kind of pulls you out of the thick of things, and it allows you to see the business from a different perspective, almost like you're looking down at it, and it gives you a better, healthier perspective on it. Okay. Where you can talk about things and see things that you didn't see before. Some of the best ideas come at these events, even just being by yourself in the morning, getting ready in the morning or something, and it's because you're giving yourself the freedom to step back. Okay. But please put a plan together the night of the training while
Amen.
it's fresh. Okay. The second thing is, if you're bringing your team, don't let everybody go to the same class. What you're going to do is spread them out, and you're going to tell them ahead of time that each one of them is going to give a 15-minute presentation when they get back to the shop on the classes that they went to,
Oh,
giving the highlights of the class.
That's a
It's a half a day
Great.
at my shop on Monday when we
that's a
return
great idea.
of talking
So
about what
now
we did.
two things happen. Number one, the tech that, balloons. Okay. So two things happen. Number one, the tech is going to pay more attention in the class because they got to talk about it. And number two, when you've got to teach something, you learn it twice. So it reinforces the behavior, but it also gets you a bigger bang for the training dollar, because now your entire team is getting the highlights of those classes. Those are my two finals. And then I'm just going to do this.
The biggest thing is we want folks to know is how much you support the J&J show on being able to, for us to get out and share more of this. And it means a lot to us. And we appreciate that so much, Rick. So I just hope that the folks will listen on this training, start applying it. And if they have a question, the next Shop Owners Roundtable is March 14th?
March 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And this last one, I think there were 53 shop owners.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them.
There was
And-
a really good crowd, and it was very animated, lots of discussion going back and forth. It was awesome.